Should you varnish acrylic paintings? Well, the short answer is it depends. I think a lot of people consider varnishing the finishing layer of a painting and that it must be done. But I disagree with this. I think in many cases you don't need to varnish. And so in this video, we are going to discuss when you should and should not varnish your acrylic painting. The first factor is impasto. And this is basically when you are creating a painting that has interesting textures that stick up off of the canvas. But if you are going to apply varnish to an impasto painting, you can have a lot of issues with this. And really, from my experience, it's kind of the luck of the draw. I mean, sometimes the varnishing works out and sometimes it doesn't. And you just really never know. I mean, sometimes you can try your best to put it on in a very even layer, and then it'll just start to pool up and create this really unsightly sheen in certain areas, and then not have the gloss or matte sheen that you put on there with the varnish in other areas. It's really hard to control. You could try spray varnish rather than traditional varnish because it won't pool up. But the problem with spray varnish is that if it comes out of the can globby at all, like if the nozzle isn't 100% clean, which sometimes it's hard to tell whether it is or not once you've used the can a few times, then it could come out in this really snowy, globby look that just looks horrible on the surface of your painting. And so there's a lot of problems with this. So in my opinion, if you paint impasto with layers of paint that are creating a lot of texture, just avoid varnishing altogether, because that way you won't ruin your painting. It's also important to note that acrylic paint sets up to a really nice solid paint film. This means that you can clean your painting and even dust it without varnishing it. So varnishing isn't 100% necessary, but in some cases, some people really do like to varnish. Now this leads us to another factor regarding whether you should varnish or not. It's your skill level of varnishing. If you are really experienced at varnishing your paintings and you like the way the varnish looks once it's applied to your paintings, because a lot of artists do, then go ahead and varnish. But if you have no experience varnishing and you are afraid you're going to ruin your painting, or if you have lots of experiences ruining paintings in the past, maybe you should just avoid varnishing. Another thing to think about is where you'll be showing your paintings. Are you going to be taking them in and out of lots of different art fairs over the next few years as you're trying to sell it? Are you going to be showing it in outdoor art fairs? If so, you might want to consider varnishing, because varnishing not only helps protect your painting from being able to clean it later, but it helps protect it from scuffs. And from my experience, I do lots of art fairs all over the Midwest, and I'm constantly moving paintings in and out of boxes and things. And if I'm going to be showing something outside a lot and I want to do it consistently at show after show, then I definitely varnish, because I want to make sure to protect it so that I don't have to go back and kind of paint over scuffs or something like that later. Also, price. It's important to consider what you're selling your artwork for. For example, if you're selling a painting for $5,000 rather than like $200, you probably should varnish it. If you are in the lower end of the art market, varnishing is not necessary. People are not buying these things as investments. They're buying them to be able to enjoy on their wall through their lifetime and maybe their children's lifetime. But a painting that's acrylics, that's unvarnished, will last that long without any problem. I've read a lot of data online that supports this. But the thing is that if you're selling something for $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, then you're probably selling it to an investment collector. And in that case, you might want to varnish so that way your painting holds up over time, like stands the test of hundreds and hundreds of years, and maybe in a museum one day, who knows? So you have to decide where your art fits in the art market currently, and then anticipate where it will be at in the future, and decide whether varnishing is the appropriate thing for you to do or not. Next is mixed media. Now, if you're using acrylic paint along with other things, let's say charcoal or pastels, then you really should varnish. You might want to consider a spray varnish if it's something like charcoal, but you'll have to look in deeper to that depending on what different mediums you're using. But suffice it to say that if it's not just acrylic paint, if it's something else, it might not have a paint film that will set up to protect it over time. So you should look up what mediums you are using in addition to acrylic paint and see whether they dry to a solid paint film. If you'd like to learn more about how to varnish your acrylic painting, I've made a really great tutorial that tells you my favorite process of how to do this. You can watch it here. All right, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.